Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Leonardo. I shall see what's going on a lovely island of Fawnhallow today. Well, I'm going to take off my owl headset because I have a towel on my head. What are we going to talk about today? I don't know. Good question. We had a D&D session today. How'd it go? It was pretty good. It was like a transitional sort of session where they left the town they had behind, going to the next area, going to the next plot point, but at the same time there's sort of like many little plot points being scattered around and set up about the place. But anyway, good evening everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow it's 10:50 PM on Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. No news for us to share today as we go about our business. But yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, I mean D&D was pretty good, and I don't really have much else to say. There was a lot of roleplay at the beginning where it's a situation where I as a DM just had to sort of like sit back and like my players just like took it away, and I was like, cool. Didn't have to say anything for like the first hour apart from set the scene of what was going on. So that was pretty cool. What else? I don't know, but there's like not any major things I can really talk about in D&D because they're either like things which are going to be like spoilers, or they're just like, you know, uneventful because things are getting set up. So let's start talking about, I don't know, games or something. Owlcat, I don't even know what that is. What is Owlcat? Have I started playing the next game following on Paradise Killer? The answer is no. What games do I even need to record? Did I upload? I did. Okay, I did upload an Akami video. Oh yeah, I remember, and I also didn't. I forgot to name it. I'm doing terribly at actually naming the things, but still. Yeah, I don't remember what else I was going to say. I got episodes coming out. Oh, I need to record another Talos Principle. Okay, I can do that. Certainly. Certainly want to try and build up a backlog again. Again, it's quite difficult, but still. Yeah, look. I don't know. Planning going into D&D sessions, like because of the start of Act 2 means that like a whole new like cast of like characters and lore needs to actually be like properly like solidified and created now. That's always a lot of typing. And there's a whole bunch of characters which I had to make, not necessarily because I think they'll all become relevant soon, but it's more like I need to sort of set the seeds now so they're consistent later. What else can we talk about? I don't know. I'm just trying to sort of think. Like Genshin Impact, I already spoke about it yesterday. I got supremely lucky. So who knows how that even came to be. I don't know like what to talk about. Let's talk about a random topic then. Let me think. I'm going through the data archives trying to think of something where I'm like, yes, this would be a perfect thing to talk about. Is it the time we talk about Homestuck? No, it can't be the time to talk about. I think like we need to talk about Homestuck when I actually get back into Homestuck or something. Why don't we talk about, I'm just trying to think about something from my childhood. I don't know why the first thing I thought about, like I thought really far back, and I thought of like two things. I thought of the fact that we used to have a chart where we put like our names on the chart, like when it came to like, we'd have like an afternoon drink or something. I don't know, I guess it's like snack time except for it's drinks. Not alcoholic obviously, I was in nursery, which is kindergarten basically, and I remember that there were like two charts, one being for milk and one being for water, and I would basically always put like my name. We had like our own like names printed out on like laminated pieces of paper. We should talk about laminators, but anyway, and we put them, stick them on the chart and run milk and water. And I remember I'd always do milk, except for one time I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try water just to see what it's like. Not that I haven't had water before, but just like see what it was like during like snack time during water. I remember they just give you the red plastic cup, they get the jug of water, pour it in, and then you drink it, and that's it. And I was like, I remember being so underwhelmed about it, because I was like, milk is delicious, and having water just in place of milk, I was just like, man, this snack time's ruined. Anyway, laminators. I remember laminators, at least in primary school, I always thought were the coolest thing. There's two stationary equipments, which I always thought was super cool. One, laminator, obviously. Second one, it's called the guillotine, but it's not like the actual guillotine, which, you know, was used to execute people, and, you know, strong like associations with the French Revolution and stuff like that. It's called, I think it's called like a paper guillotine. I'm not actually sure. Paper Guillotine. It's a rotary paper trimmer. Oh no, there's two. There's a guillotine cutter, and there's a desktop guillotine. Is that what it's actually called? A desktop guillotine? No, it's just called a trimmer. Anyway, I remember this like trimmer thing we had in school. If you don't know how I would describe it, it looks like it's like a big old board, and then there's like a metal rail at the back, which has like a thing which can slide back and forth on it, like a small little box, if anything, which can slide back and forth in it. This box contains basically a blade in it, and what you do is you would slide like paper underneath a rail, then you'd like slide the box across, and it would give like a really clean cut across the entire thing. And the point being that like you could get like a lot of different pieces of paper in there to like cut multiple things, like worksheets out at once. There was like a grid on it, so if you wanted to like properly measure out the thing you were cutting, that's what you would do it for. And I guess it was quite safe as well, because it has this guard on the blade, right, and it has all these guards underneath to make it quite difficult for you to actually cut your fingers on it. Obviously we didn't let any of the kids actually use this paper guillotine, or this paper, is it called a paper cutter? Paper cutter. I don't know. Hold on. I need a Wikipedia to confirm with me what the exact one is called. Like this paper cutter is a safety rotary paper cutter, not the large guillotine cutter, which I don't know if we had in our school. I think we actually did have in our school, because I feel like I remember one of our teachers cutting like an exercise book or something with it for some reason, or maybe that was in secondary school. I don't know. It feels a bit dangerous to have it in primary school. Why are both our friends so sad now? What happened? Because that's where I've joined in my conversations. I've never had conversations which actually change my emotions. But I always have conversations on my own which change your emotions. Anyway, not the point. Yeah, these paper cutters, like the guillotine ones, it's super dangerous. I understand why they're not in school, because like any child might just like, if they put their fingers in there or something, would like, I don't know if it would cut the fingers clean off, like bone's pretty hard to actually cut through, right? But it would at least certainly be quite dangerous. The safety ones, at least a lot safer. Like it's pretty difficult to cut yourself. I don't even know how you would cut yourself. But I remember it's because it's called a paper guillotine, or like, it's not even called a paper guillotine. They literally just called it a guillotine, at least in our school. It has a very scary connotation to it, doesn't it? It feels like, because they warn you as well, but like you put your fingers underneath it, it will cut your fingers clean off. It wouldn't. Like even in worst case scenario, okay, worst case scenario would cut your fingers off, I guess, but like the plausible worst case scenario is that you would just get like a deep laceration on your finger. So I'm not saying do it. Obviously don't do that. Don't put your fingers in a paper cutter. Use these tools safely. But it's amazing that like the sort of like improvements and strides which come along to actually like design a safe version. Like I feel like as a kid, like at least in like year 6 and year 5, I should have been allowed to use a paper cutter, a paper guillotine. I feel like I would have been responsible enough to not stick my fingers in. I did actually use it a couple of times, but obviously with like teacher supervision. I think I used it like in year 3 or something. I don't remember what I was doing, but I do have this distinct memory of like this like jealousy, or no, envy I suppose, of like this other kid like using the thing. He was a bit of a troublemaker, so he was very sort of like loud, and you know, squeaky wheel gets a grease, as they say. That's a bit demeaning, I suppose, because I mean, he is a kid at the end of the day, and I'm literally talking about a paper guillotine. No one should care, but me, 6-year-old me, I suppose that time cared, being like, how come he gets to use a paper guillotine or gets to try using it when I don't? As you know, kids often want to do, but it's the sort of thing where I was just like, oh, you know, I kind of wish like I was like, come on, I was like a super good kid. I was like, you know, I was like, I like to think the teachers like me a lot, you know. You can't give me just a little bit of permission just to use a paper guillotine once or twice. I promise you, I won't cut my fingers off. I'll be very responsible with it. I'll be fantastic at using it. So please, trust me. I don't really remember how the car song goes, but yeah, I don't know. I just remember this sort of little bit of envy, just being like, I kind of want to use this paper guillotine, but alas, no opportunity for me to. I just have to sort of bear with until, you know, eventually I did actually use it. So I guess that's kind of a moot point now, isn't it? But yeah, like, I don't know. It's definitely one of the coolest equipments, like that and the laminator. The laminator, I think, is cool in what it creates. Actually using it is not very interesting, but paper guillotine is it's not exhilarating, I would say, using it, but it certainly has a certain pizzazz to it. The sound is very satisfying as it goes, you know. You know what I'm talking about? You picking up what I'm putting down? Just saying that paper guillotines have a really cool sound. And are underrated, I think, as... Well, I don't necessarily know if they're underrated as far as stationery it's not like the most pivotal stationery in the toolbox. But the sort of thing where it's like, it's pretty cool, I think. I don't think we should rule it out just like that. We love a little ickle bit of I forgot what I was gonna say. Cool machinery. It's not even like a machinery. It's just kind of like a craft tool. I'm not really sure what you classify a paper guillotine as. Anyway, I feel like a paper guillotine is something I have a very strong association with. Sort of like childhood. Like I think back to what being a teacher must have been like as a child, and I think, you know, like paper guillotines, I think those like worksheets and like making several photocopies of using a laser printer. Nowadays they probably don't even do that anymore. And I don't mean that in like a back in my day sort of thing, just like there's not really much need to do that, I suppose, if you have digital stuff to use now. You don't have to just print out tons and tons of paper of that sort of thing. But there's big like sort of printers which can print things double-sided, you know, like scanning the books, like that's not nostalgic to think back, like scanning the worksheets, and like there wasn't always like a great contact between the worksheet and the scanner, so it's like hard to see sometimes what the actual problem was, like when you're actually trying to solve the things. That feels sort of like reminiscent of childhood, at least on me. Maybe not for you, maybe for you, but not for me. I see a silly face. Wow. Walking, oh, sorry, smiling at me. Yeah, I don't really know what I was going with, well, any of this, to be honest. I was just sort of thinking about it, you know? Just being like, yeah. Paper guillotine. Is it something I'd buy for myself in the future? No. But it's... I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with all of this. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's just kind of like a cool piece of equipment to be able to sort of bulk cut out a lot of piece of paper, right? Just be able to be like the best descriptor, I suppose, I could really give other noises. Yeah. But there's a weird sort of like sense of nostalgia wrapped up in all of that. Well, at least I think. It certainly almost feels like I'm not going to say a longing of something which doesn't exist, because I don't know if that makes sense. But something sort of like almost feels that way, right? Almost feels like a sort of sense of longing of something which did not exist. like almost like a fake, not a fake idea I put in my head, but like an intriguing one, certainly. I don't really know where I'm going with this. I should have been doing my Neopets dailies at the same times. That's what I should have been doing, but I don't... I can't describe what I'm thinking or feeling right now, where it's just like this idea of... I guess it's kind of like nostalgia, but it's not quite nostalgia. Because it's not like paper guillotines don't exist anymore. Well, maybe they don't. I don't really know. Well, not like maybe they don't, but like they're not like widely used anymore. Which I guess would make probably a lot of sense instead of things like the decrease of like paper usage, presumably throughout lessons and all that, certainly means that you probably don't see it as much anymore. Just like, I don't know, I guess I'm sort of holding on to this idea of like, whoa, you know, when I was younger, a paper guillotine was like the coolest thing I've ever heard of. But now I'm older, I'm just like, oh, it's just like a tool. It was like a thing to be respected and feared, I suppose, and it had like, I guess I'm sort of like thinking back on the idea of like the hold it had over me as a child. And then sort of like now I'm realising, well, not now I'm realising, but speaking more frankly, obviously I'm an adult now, and I don't really fear. I guess I do respect, I suppose, a bit paper guillotine in that sense. I'm not going to like mess around with it, but it's not the same, you know what I mean? A perception is different. Probably for the best, but still. Part of me can't help but miss those sort of days. When as a child you have a very sort of like warped perspective on what things are, do, and will make sense. You know? I don't know. Sort of just like what's on my mind. Anyway, should I round this episode up here? Oh, no, we still got tons of time. I feel like I'm speaking forever, but, you know, I guess I'm not speaking as much as I thought I was. What else can I say about it then? Yeah, I don't know, paper cutter. And then like in secondary school you get the big old upgrade where you have the actual guillotine ones to chop like huge things all at once. At least that's what I sort of remember. Not sure why they did that. Like, why would you need to chop a book? Surely it would be better for you to just buy the book in the right sizing. Obviously, maybe that's easier said than done. Just sort of like, oh, do it. It does feel a bit strange, at least to me, that this is the case. But again, what do I really know about teaching? And the answer is not a lot. Mentoring a little bit, sure, but teaching, nah. Not as in a like a I hate teachers way or something. I didn't mean like that, but certainly in a way it was like I just don't have the experience for it. I don't know what else to say about that. Just like I didn't expect to have such a sort of strange nostalgia for something as simple as like a paper cutter. Like, it doesn't feel like something which should really instill much of a sense of nostalgia, but it kind of does, weirdly. It's almost like, I guess it's a stronger sense of nostalgia that I get from it than I expected, which is sort of catching me off guard. It's sort of like I didn't expect myself to be like, oh, you know, a paper cutter, that was like something which triggers memories in my mind. I mean that in a good way. I mean that in a loving way. It's just a simple paper cutter. Maybe I should buy one. I have literally no use for a paper cutter. It's not like I'm printing out papers like... When's the last time I printed out a piece of paper? Probably not that long ago, but yeah, again, I can't really think of it, so... Who knows, maybe it's a little bit more tangled, a little bit older than I once would have expected. Anywho, now I'm going to round this episode off here. Now I've gone completely off the rails. I thought I was going to just talk about a paper cutter, no, a paper guillotine, but now I feel like I've gone on some sort of moral quandary about life and reflection of it and the perception of growing up, for good and for worse. Anyway, I'm going to round this episode off here as I leave you with not an existential crisis, but sort of like wary of your own aging. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.